Participate in a conversation with once conservative, now liberal Midwest mastered prepared special education high school teacher and a self-proclaimed devil's advocate, East Coast conservative liberal, baccalaureate prepared registered nurse. These two strangers met, became instant friends, and realized their conversations are candid and epic. So join us weekly, ask us questions, and listen to these profoundly candid friends try to solve the world's problems, one discussion at a time.
Hey, welcome to another awesome episode of The New Theory with Monet and Jared, aka TNT with MJ. I am Jared.
I'm Monet.
And together we're teaching minds
and nurturing souls.
And I want to start off real quick, and I know Monet was not prepared for this, but I just want to let it be known that right off the bat, my voice is rather hoarse. Kind of still recovering from COVID. Spent 2 years trying to avoid that shit. Well, not finally, but unfortunately got it last week. So here I am still trying to recover from it. But I will say, Monet had it twice, so I know I ain't barking up that tree. But
and we're fully vaccinated, people.
Yeah, fully vaccinated and boosted and everything. But still, I got it. Last week was worse than this week, but still, be that as it may, still, that's why my voice is hoarse. So I apologize about that. Hopefully it doesn't lull anybody to sleep. I don't know, just throwing that out there. Anyway, little levity, I tried. But before we hit the record button, Monet, you were telling me something about kind of being stuck in a rut and wanting to have not better, but more hopeful conversations. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was saying that, I feel during we have our pre-conversations about what our lineup is going to be and what we're going to focus on for the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I stopped, I paused, and I said, Jared, I feel total and utter exacerbation. Here we are, almost 2 years into this process that we've created. And these conversations aren't better. They're stagnant. They're the same. We're still at square one. I figured by this point we would be, because the type of personalities we have, we like to focus on hopeful things. Actually, when we end, we have usually, positive, and
we try to end every conversation on a positive note. Absolutely.
Yes. But it's like every time we come on, and it's okay because our objective is to reach a wide audience of people so that they can encourage, so they can spark an energy in them to do positive things and notice, like, this is right, this is wrong. No, we're going to try to steer things into a more positive light and use that energy within us to do the right thing. And this is why we talk about what's wrong, so that we don't make those mistakes and we can recognize them when we see them to make them right. But like, the fuck? Like, what the fuck, Jared? Like, and it's like, okay, so people, sorry, I'm coming apart here. It's not like people are like, Monet, it's not a perfect world, but let me tell you something. Who said we're not expecting perfection? I'm just expecting a little better.
Yeah.
It's getting
better.
Honestly, let's start off where essentially because Jared's like, well, I don't know. This is where we're going to start. I got it now.
Yeah.
Let's start off with where we started 1 million years ago, it feels like, with our first conversation about Floyd.
Yeah.
Would you like everyone what happened with Floyd?
Oh, that guy, he's gone for life. He's gone for life, and he still has yet to face his federal court case of his civil court case. He's still yet to face that. Whereas his 3 accomplices, the 3 other officers who want to spout that, oh no, we were just following his lead. He was the commanding officer on the scene. We were just following his lead. God. Forgetting about the fact that their number one priority is to protect and serve.
Yeah.
Those 3 fuckers are on trial now. Their trial started this week. And one of them actually is going to be testifying. So I'm looking forward to hearing what that dude has to say. I use the word dude lightly. obviously I'm not biased about the whole situation. I will say this. One officer may end up getting some sort of leniency or some sort of lenient sentencing.
They were
simply because one officer actually suggests or even asked, hey, can we roll him over on his stomach? Let's roll him over on his stomach, or let's roll him over to his side or something to relieve the pressure,
Yeah.
Because that's actually one of their maneuvers that they're trained on to do is, to do that. And so this officer suggested it and Chauvin said no. And so he didn't do anything.
Wasn't he the rookie though? Wasn't he the one that was
the rookie was crowd control.
Oh, he was crowd control. Okay. So it was one of the younger officers. Suggested.
No, I take that back. I'm sorry. I think you were right. The guy who was on crowd control was Chauvin's partner who had rode with him for years and been a part of other murders. So, yeah.
Look,
anyway,
here's the deal. As Jared is talking of this story, and we did pre-discuss it, it literally dawned on me. There was another incident that just happened in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. Similar situation. 17-year-old kid. Oh, you want me to go? Or
I'm sorry.
I didn't know if that was my cue to go. I was like, I'm sorry, did I steal your thunder? I apologize. Go.
Whatever. But it's our thunder.
There you go. Fair enough. Yeah, no, very similar fashion. 17-year-old kid, black kid, handed over to juvenile detention authorities, put in the same position as Floyd for 30 minutes with pressure on his back. Kid is less than 160 pounds. He had 2 grown-ass men on his back. And then those 2 grown-ass men asked for 2 more grown-ass men to come and help. By the time the other 2 got there, the kid was dead. There's no way.
You said that in the report, he was acting erratic in public and all authorities, they had the choice of taking him to a pediatric psychiatric unit or the juvenile detention center. We don't know this kid's history with law enforcement, but they chose to take him to juvie. It was the juvenile officers that committed this murder, this crime, this homicide. And we cannot forget that, because when you are sworn to protect and serve, and you're here to take care of a human life, your objective, okay, you said that the juvenile swung at one of the officers and they felt as though they had to defend themselves.
Yeah, in the scuffle, like he was, I don't know if he was throwing punches, but he threw a punch and hit one of the one of the officers in the face or in the head.
Here's the deal.
As such, the DA will not press charges under the stand your ground rule or stand your ground law.
No, you stand your ground when you're outside defending your property or your house. When you're in someone's custody, when you're a state government official custody, okay? Because when as a nurse taking care of patients, they're under my custody. I'm responsible for them. It is my responsibility. I mean, I'm looking at losing my license if something happens to a patient, and I didn't do everything I was supposed to do to maintain and sustain their life in my custody. So there's no way in hell anyone in their right mind. And so I digress and I say these were some of the first conversations we had almost 2 years ago. We were talking about George Floyd.
This whole thing started with Floyd.
Yes. And here we are again. I said I feel as though, what the fuck, people? My father was a cop. Okay, he was an NP in the military, a police officer in the civil world. I was raised by a police officer. My dad would never tell people he had a gun in the house. My dad did not feel it was necessary to carry his personal weapon outside of the home because he felt as though he had a heightened sense of responsibility to the world.
Yeah.
That was 6'2", a good 225 pounds.
I mean, you say to the world, at the very least, your community.
Exactly. Listen, my dad, I went around Christmas, they have a Thanksgiving, they have a community reunion for the Black people community, yes. And I happened And I was told by men that were 60, like in their late 50s and their 60s, telling me, yo, your dad was the best. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, he would give us condoms. He would tell us how important it was. And I'm like, literally, I just heard this past holiday season. I mean, what do you use this platform for? But, to talk. Didn't think to talk about it. Now it dawns on me. Like when you're a member of the society, it may not have been appropriate and the boys knew not to tell their parents, I hate to say, but none of them were teenage dads. I'm just saying. None of them, all of them went into a career or they went to college and they completed it. Yeah. Literally, men were telling me that. And they were like, because of that one act, and it was a couple of times. My dad would play basketball. I said my dad was 6'2". So he would play basketball.
Oh, sure.
Saw him running in the neighborhood because he learned that from PT when he was in the military. My point is, like, they saw this Black man doing things in the neighborhood. He did it because he knew people were watching. And he said the things because he knew people were listening. And I guess I know where I get it from. Thanks, Daddy. But my point is very wise. My father was extremely wise man. And I'm very blessed to have been his daughter. If the world doesn't know, Howard William Washington was an asset. He was the foundation of my morality and my focus, in life. And with that being said, we are all responsible. Every single one of us. Jared already knows his platform as a teacher. I know my platform as a nurse, but it goes beyond that. I know what my responsibility is the moment I walk out the door. And so, Jared, how to tie all of this in? You said, now I don't know whether we're going to discuss the affirmative action or the affirmative action bill that
Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court, yes.
Yeah. There's a case being brought up that the Supreme Court has agreed to take up in October regarding affirmative action practices or admissions practices, specifically with 2 different universities. But then there was the modern day lynching that
happened in Pennsylvania.
That happened in Pennsylvania. Yep, not too far from you, there in Pittsburgh. Yep, young man, Spencer. His last name is Spencer. Peter Spencer, wasn't even 30. Shot 9 times in the back at a campsite just because he was Black, just because he was there. He was the only Black man.
And white people want to know why Black people are afraid of him. No, real shit. They're like, I'm not a violent person. I'm sorry. There is too much statistical information that suggests. See, let me explain something to y'all without Jared opening his mouth. Jared is an ally because he's a human, period, first. He is not the color. Well, sometimes, this light does make you look a little like your shirt, Jared, real shit. But he's not white. And
I'm trying to keep the black background.
Yeah, right. It can superimpose, make it look a little glowish.
I'm working on it. I'm trying. No.
And I'm not Black. But there are humans that resemble those complexions. But regardless if they identify with the complexion or not, right. The reality is we both recognize we're human first. We will talk about what it is to be a white man and a Black woman in this society because it gives reference. It's real. Those are real discussions. But the reality is, why is Jared on this fence? Because it didn't there's so many religious and spiritual and Martin Luther King and Buddha and all these people that said something to the effect, if you allow the atrocity to continue, it will reach to you. So stop it where you see it so it doesn't spread. Now, those are no one's words but me and Jared's words. How about that? Quote that from Jared and Monet. So the reality...
I'll co-sign that.
Yeah, you go. We excuse me, when you walk in your door, and you close your door behind you, and this is to the audience, and you feel that overwhelming, which you don't even recognize most of the time. But if you ever stop and think, do you feel an overwhelming sense of peace? Do you feel like, oh, and you take off your shoes and your coat or whatever your practice is when you first walk in the door, sitting your keys down, have you, and whatever your thing is, you go get a cup of whatever coffee it is. You get my point, and you settle into your environment. Why can't everybody have that? I want to share. Very, very simple.
Preach.
That's a level of peace money can't buy. I mean, it does because we have to go to work, but you feel me? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Why can't people, indigenous people, Asian people, Black people, Hispanic people, all walks of life, white people, go somewhere and say, hey, this is a really comfortable environment. I'm comfortable here.
Mm-hmm.
Why should any of us fear being anywhere? And people are, no, I'm not subscribing to that, because I'm not saying that, oh, people are evil. Okay, yes, but are you evil then? No, real shit. You want to talk about other people? Well, how are you contributing to this?
Yeah. Yeah. Why are you calling this shit out too?
Yes. So
why are you not calling a spade a spade? Yeah, and I'm going to expand on that story a little bit, because I don't know if I shared this with you. Peter was called up by a friend to go camping over a weekend. He was invited by a friend to go have a good time, shoot some guns, because, hey, apparently it's legal there, but shoot off some guns, drink some beer, have a good time with your buddy at a campsite. He was there to have fun, have a good time, and like you said, have that peace. But that was taken from him by 4 individuals who thought, nah, this nigger doesn't need to be here.
Thank you. And that's exactly what the fuck they said and what they did. And that's fucked up, because he's different. He's a human. He was a human.
He was there for the exact same reasons those fuckers were. Be there with your buddies, have a good time, shoot off some guns, drink some beer, pass the fuck out, wake up the next day, be on your way.
Jared, what is wrong? What is wrong with this world? No one better ever fucking come for us. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we work very, very hard at what we do.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody has listened to or watched our YouTube channel, they will see like dedication to trying to better this planet. Even in the small venue that we have, this little podcast that we record with our computer and our phone and our tablet. We don't have all
Monet, if we're sitting here talking peace and trying to be better humans and have positive interactions and stuff, why are our conversations always so damn negative? Why do we have to be so negative? And why do we have to be so angry or even resentful at times?
Because that's the only thing you motherfuckers understand. If we said calm and quiet, y'all would fall asleep and move the fuck on. So
exactly. Well, and I'll just no, go ahead. Go ahead. No.
Fucking attention. Don't come for us when we bring the real shit to you, because that's what it is. Jared has testimonial, physical video proof that he's gone out to try to educate people in Arkansas. And he's not done. Not like it's over.
Hell no, I'm not. Hell no, I'm not.
I am constantly preaching to people, physical, on my social media platforms and in person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the forces will unite soon enough. Trust, believe.
Oh,
but stop it. No.
Yeah. And I'll just add this. The love for humanity does not exclude anger towards injustice and any kind of action undone under any other kind of pretense of what the fuck ever. I was trying to get to Christian nationalism with that one, but just That doesn't mean that we don't get to call shit out. That doesn't mean that we don't get to get angry when we see it or read about it. No,
right.
That's not what the love of humanity is. The love of humanity is calling out the disgusting. So that way we can eradicate it.
Because y'all are teach to close your eyes and close your mouth and don't talk about it and then it go away. No, the fuck, it's not going away. As you can see, it's still here.
And by the way, when I say eradicate it, I don't mean eradicate the person. I mean the behavior and the attitude.
Yes. So we really have to focus on recognizing, one, what real conversations are and how they're conducted. Okay, really, that's because you can't have these, well, we're gonna pet each other and be like, it's okay. No.
Yeah. We're not gonna talk about it because if we talk about it, then it just doesn't go away. But if we don't, it does. Hashtag make that make sense.
We're talking about it and we may get a little heated, but know that at our core, our objective is for goodness, kindness, and love to prevail. Absolutely. And for us to reach you so that we can incite an emotion so that you can be like, okay. Look, and forgive me for those that are offended at my verbiage and my vernacular, okay? When I use profanity, I just need you to understand, unfortunately, I haven't hit that phase in my life where I give a fuck. I mean, no.
I've given all the fucks I want to give. I'm done.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, you don't even need to be apologizing about that shit because I'm dropping language as well. I'm just saying. Honestly, I'm cussing just as much as you are or using profanity.
So especially in the beginning, we were very angelic and like, but now it's like the gloves are off because you motherfuckers just don't learn. And I mean, it's not like we're not terribly corporal punishment parents, but we do have our level. There comes a time where, I've repeated, I've discussed, we sat down, we're talking, we're trying to map out a good workplace. Now we're done.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about the and I feel like I'm jumping. Jared, watch me now. It's not like we're trying to talk about like we want to eradicate police out of this world.
Oh no. No, I mean they have their place. I'm not gonna lie.
We all,
but let's also consider. I mean, let's be real. If you followed us long enough, you know where the history of police started. You know how that originated. For those that don't, look up I think 1867. I think that's the year. But it's the Fugitive Slave Act. Look that up. That's what started the modern day police. Don't believe me? Again, look it up.
Told you.
But be that as it may, in modern society, there's a place for that. I can see. I'm not saying defund the police, get rid of the police. That's not what we're saying at all. It's a matter of extend the resources to be able to provide the needs for your community. Case in point, had a social worker showed up for Peter Spencer or for insert your name. I'm sorry, there's so many I can't pinpoint which ones a social worker would have been applicable. Shit, George Floyd. You could have sent a social worker to George Floyd, as just someone to observe, an objective observer who has would have some degree of authority. I would think that they would train the police that unless it becomes life-threatening, this person's in control. But anyway, I digress on that one. But point being, had a social worker been called instead of the police in Peter's situation, or that guy who was
the kid in Kansas City in Peter's situation, the one that just got
and the kid in Peter's.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah. You're right. I was sorry. I mixed up my names. I apologize.
Remember, you got
COVID. Blame the vid, man. Blame Rona. No.
Yeah,
right. Or that man in New York City a couple of years ago, middle of winter, snowing. He's detained in the middle of the street in his underwear. Clearly, there was something mentally going on with that guy. Had a social worker been called for him?
There's so cases. Like that's why
So many
Jared
examples.
yeah, there's so many like there's files that are popping into his head. They're like, this is an exacerbation of this is an abuse of power, and this is and in defense of the officers, they're probably exhausted too. Like, I don't know how to fucking handle these psychological people. Look, I went to college and got my criminal justice degree. I didn't go to college to get my psychology, even though I had to take psychology and sociology and all that other stuff. I don't have a psychology degree. I have a criminal justice degree. So, because now most police officers have to have at least an associate's degree to be on the force. So at least they're saying, hey, they're educated. And with that being said, at least they're trying to say to police officers, we need you to use your first brain instead of your the medulla oblongata.
Your primal,
so,
your
primal brain. So it's sad because even police officers know, like, we're tired. I was talking to a police officer just today and they're telling me I'm tired of being policed by police. There's a lot of times I just come and do my job and I want the betterment for everybody. I don't want anybody. He's like, now I have second thoughts when I see somebody driving 95 miles an hour in a 45 zone, like he could kill himself or somebody else and this, that, and the other. And I know I need to, per my policies, I have to pull him over. But what the fuck is going to happen if I do? He's got weed or he may have a warrant and it turns into this whole, like, am I profiling him? Like, I'm not trying to be that person. But at the same time, like, help me with my parameters of what my job is. And at the same time, it's, we have to recognize, this is a really fucking awkward situation. But there are a lot of officers that need retraining. And there's a lot of redirection that needs to happen with the force. And when it comes to, essentially, we were talking about affirmative action. Yeah, this is as Americans need to pay attention to, because that's also a huge discussion that we're definitely going to have to devote probably a whole session to the importance or the opposite, the opposition to affirmative action. Why did it come about? Why is it significant? Because when I know for a fact when white people hear it, they feel like one of us is getting slighted. And it's like,
yeah. Well, ironically, statistically speak, yeah, that's a hard word to say. Statistically speaking, yeah, say that 5 times fast. Numbers wise, affirmative action has helped white people more than it has the groups of people that it was meant to help.
Look, the caucus in me, because I'm always, you like Monet, they be like, you be riding that Candace Owen, like, OJ Simpson line sometimes. I'm like,
and no, I love it because I call it out every time. I'm like, you be
riding that line, Monet. No, it doesn't, Jared. You could.
No, you're playing devil's advocate. I was doing that to you earlier. That's all good. Do what you're gonna do.
But the reality is, we don't want it to exist because people should be it should be based on the content of people's character. And do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
you know what? When it comes to a degree, I agree with you. It shouldn't exist. Much like a lot of things shouldn't exist. We shouldn't have these first black person, first white person, first, I'm not white, first female, first whatever, we shouldn't, I long for the day where we don't have to do that, where we're not using that phrase anymore. And so I agree with you to a point that affirmative action shouldn't exist. However, the only way to get rid of that effectively when it comes to hiring and admissions process, because that's what it was for, to create diversity within the workforce and universities. Now, granted, I know that that's a broad stroke view of affirmative action, so please forgive me on that. But point being, if every application, let's do this. You know how you solve, this is just me. This is just Jared throwing out an idea of how to get rid of affirmative action effectively. If every resume, every application, and every college admissions application, students were only required to use their initials, or applicants were only required to use their initials, and the address could be optional.
It should be an email.
If you can set that application process up to where it is complete not necessarily anonymity, but where there's no way, and I don't want to say like that, but it makes it very difficult for someone on the other end looking at that to discriminate in any way, shape, or form. And they're only looking at your qualifications and your experience.
Exactly. I think that would be brilliant. And there you go. Therein lies the fix.
I'm just saying.
There, problem solved. Because they even say when it comes to, I was listening to, hey, don't judge me, Jared, but you know, I'm still a little 19-year-old girl inside my head. I don't care what nobody's. There you go.
As long as you're not listening to Joe Rogan or Aaron Rodgers, we're good.
Not the fuck. No, not. But not. And one of is that just as bad? No. One of the little things that came up on the TikTok was the reason why. What the guy comes out and he goes, why are they so fascinated on applications to try to identify whether you're you're Latino or non-Latino?
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you why. It's a form of racism. Duh.
It really is, because they use that as exactly. They use it as a demographic or as a statistic. Hey, we've got this X amount of, and we've increased, fuck that.
No, because when
get rid of that checkbox.
When America took part of Texas, which was part of Mexico, and that whole all that.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
They were like, oh, well, do you identify with being white or black? Well, we're not black, so I guess we identify with white. And then they realized all these Spanish Americans were identifying with, these Latin Americans were identifying with white. And they were like, it ain't that many. All these people are, what are y'all? Y'all you're from Latin descent, right? Like, okay, you're white, but you're from Latin descent, which then further marginalized them and made them identify with their Latin, Hispanic, and all the other diverse roots, which will then, because that's all, like the American system is like, it was like American, immigrant, black, white. And now we need to just really start singling out, you know what I'm saying? We want to, for some purposes, the statistical analysis is great, because then you can say, hey, these communities are growing. This is a positive integration, this, that, and the other. And we can look at it from a positive perspective. But others are, it helps those I know, it helps those in power to be like, don't go there.
There it is. Those in power. That fucking checkbox is a form of control.
Yes, it's a form.
You get rid of the checkbox, now you have diversity.
I think this is one of the low-key things I'm probably going to start doing, is I'm going to start telling people when they fill out applications, don't check any of them fucking boxes. And if they do, check below and say other, so that we're done. And we're employing government. I mean, look, I know it's like, Monet, are we protesting everything? No, that's just a silent protest. But we need.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. We have to find something strong to levy our weight behind. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Jared and I discovering it. For our listening audience, we have an email address, for heaven's sakes. Send us some suggestions.
with MJ.
Repeat that, sir.
Yeah, sorry. TNTWITHMJ with @gmail.com. So TNTwithMJ@gmail.com. All one word, no spaces, no caps, nothing.
We're following you guys. We're following y'all. This is our world. And no, I think the Supreme Court shouldn't discuss things that have already been established. But you guys want to keep trying to say, let's undo some of this shit, because we want America great like it once was to us.
Well, and I'm gonna put a little spin on it, because the whole affirmative action case is it came from a student organization called Students for Fair Admissions, and their reasoning is that affirmative action is discriminatory against Asian Americans.
So it has nothing to do with Black people? He's nodding his head, y'all. Oh shit!
Nope, because apparently these two universities particularly have a cap on Asian American admissions.
That's not
You know,
prejudice.
you can call a spade, but then to attack a legitimate, legitimate system that was meant to promote diversity. Now, granted, the paradox there is, well, it's not meant to promote race, but you're using race as a defining factor because that's why you have the boxes, and you got to make sure that you have X amount of Black people, X amount of Latinx people, and X amount of white people, and a literal certain amount number, not even percentage, but a number of Asian Americans. Get rid of the damn box.
Get rid of it and just let the qualities come in. You know what? Americans are really
Use the name. And you know what? I've heard stories of Black females specifically who would change their name on the application and then get a call for an interview.
Because if they put their Nikas and their nays and their there, then it's
and I'm sure that Black women aren't the only ones who are experiencing that, but it's Black women that I've heard tell that story.
You know what I'm saying? We know, right? No, that's not fair. Don't judge based on or Hernandez or Gonzalez. Don't judge that.
Oh, this is not a Eurocentric name, so we can't. No. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. And that's why I suggest putting your initials.
There you go.
You get rid of the confusion there real quick.
If you see on social media apps, if you don't create your own, especially on TikTok, if you don't put in your own little spin on your name, they'll give you like a computerized like CJ946. So it should be stuff like that.
Yeah.
It should be a computer generated name that's associated to a computer generated email account that you have the password to, and they have no idea what race, nationality, or sexual orientation the person is.
Exactly.
And then let's really build on establishing and creating a community for us, for good people. Okay. Look, we had said we were going to talk about besides us, being stagnant and still trying to fight for justice and fairness for all and love of one another and self-love. It is, I digress when I talk about, love for one another, because I don't want somebody that don't love themselves to love me.
Right. Because if you can't, I'm sorry, I've been told, and I'm a complete advocate of this. If you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else?
Period. And it's not selfish to love yourself.
Yeah, absolutely not. And here's the irony to that. And here's what took me a long time to understand. Because I had to I wrapped my head around that for years. But I came to the conclusion, love does not have to be this existential, this untouchable, this, oh my God, nirvana type situation. Oh, I love you and you love me and I'm gonna make sure nothing bad happens. And exactly. No, I'm not talking about that. Do you brush your teeth in the morning?
Hey.
Do you wash your hands when you're done? Do you make sure that you're fed? Do you make sure that you get something to drink? Do you make sure that your health needs are met? Do you make sure that you're clothed before you go out the door? Do you make sure that your bills are met? These are ways that you show love for yourself. Very easy. I'd say non-tangible or untangible, but you got to put things on. You got to use your hands. Put things on. But be that as it may, it doesn't have to be this overthought, overexerting, top situation. No.
Yeah.
No. Do you make sure that your ass is wiped when you're done?
Dry.
I'm gonna break it down. Are you showered every day?
This is the shit, right? So every time we say you gotta take care of yourself, everybody thinks of the plane, right? Because when you put the oxygen on, you're gonna have twice as much oxygen in you to utilize those resources to help the other people. See, that's where it comes at.
Exactly.
I ate, I slept, I washed my ass. I'm ready to take on the world. Hey,
there you go.
Really? This is what my brother is saying. Oh, hear him? Do you hear him? That's that real shit right there. That's that self-love. That's that I gotta build myself up. Because when I'm walking with that glow, it's attractive. You are the light in everyone else's life. And because you've done those mediocre or monitor or however you want to Those
Yeah.
things are so not important, but we know
Monotonous
that
things that you think that are just so routine, it doesn't even matter, but they do.
that's the foundation. Yo, do you see me get excited? Because I was literally going there and Jared just said it. Creepy. I love it. But that's so serious. See, this is that love. Because we have so individualized love and we actually love each other. Then you start on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
And you
absolutely.
And because you want the goodness and kindness and love to be pervasive, you're like, come on, let me help you. Because this is what I do. This is what I do. Let me try to help you. But in the you start, I let you go because I gotta take care of myself.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's not loving your neighbor as yourself. And it's very and it's not even, I mean, you don't even have to be biblical about it. But you and I both, I mean, I know that you've got your Christian brothers and sisters, I've got mine. Who, well, I'm gonna be real, self-proclaimed to be Christians, because I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. There's that difference. You know what the difference is? That whole love your neighbor situation. That's the difference. If you're claiming to be Christian and you're not loving your neighbor, guess what? You're not Christian. Kiss my ass. No. Argue with me. Go ahead.
Do it. Look, I like you, even though my chosen religious group is Judaism. I encompass Islam, Buddhism.
Oh, sure.
Buddhism.
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to no. I'm not trying to get to that point. Yeah. And if you really want to go down that road, we can say that all form of religion that we know today actually from Zoroastrianism back in like BC. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, a little history for you. But I digress. But the point being, because that is a traditionally Christian mentality or a Christian verse or Christian teaching, love your neighbor as yourself. That's why I said that. But I also know that there are Christians out there who claim to be Christians who don't spout that, because guess what? Ask them about January 6th.
Oh, January 6th again.
Ask them about patriotism.
That is not patriotism, honey. If you
ask them about the vaccine. Ask them about COVID. Ask them about masks.
Well, Jared, it's not just those.
Those are just recent examples.
It's not just those that took part.
Where do you stand with Potter? Where do you stand with Chauvin? Where do you stand on this? Where do you stand? Because seriously, I mean, I'm getting into a whole different topic, and I don't want to get that. I'd love to talk to it, but we don't have the time for this.
Jared, the reality is, we literally have to teach our children and those around us that our religion is a nice foundation for community, respect, and appreciation, and just, really trying to practice that love your neighbor mentality. However, on a global perspective, what then the fundamentals of a 5-year-old, like what's right and what's wrong. And it's clear. Like, you don't have to be a grown ass adult to say. You could show the videos 2 years from now, 5 years from now, we can show the videos of January 6th to children and be like, well, these people were not nice. That's not nice. That's not nice. And a 5-year-old can say, that's not nice. Then that's not nice. And that's it. Yeah. We're done. Goodbye. Now, when it comes to vaccination, though, and we could sit here, I got caught into this Clubhouse meeting, and we're talking about New York nurses, and we just got off, and it was about religion. It got everywhere. And there's a whole class of minorities out there that are absolutely against the vaccine because of the total mistrust and lack of respect they have for science because of real.
Oh God, no! No, please. I'm glad you're bringing this up, because I wasn't even in my ignorance. I wasn't even considering that. I was looking at it from a different angle. So I apologize. But no, you're absolutely right, and I totally understand. I mean, I'd say I totally understand that, but
with that being said, I can
understand it from a historical perspective. Absolutely, you have every right.
We had that. We've had, for our faithful listeners, they're like, "Yep, y'all talk about this." Monet was totally against. I was like, "Absolutely not. I don't care." And I'm in healthcare. Fuck what you heard. And then I got COVID. I was like, "Oh fuck." I better do it because I feel better. That being said, I said, I know this. I said, and I look from it from my spiritual perspective, that it happened to me so that I can teach, so that I can say, hey, look, I get it. I know I don't trust, but I had to do it because I physically felt, I physically seen it, took care of it, identified it within me, and was like, oh shit, this is how that woman wound up in the ICU. Got the medication I needed to reverse it, reversed it, said it worked. Oh, that was a super dose of the shot. Yeah, the monoclonal was a super dose of the whatever Johnson and Johnson and Pfizer and Moderna, which I got. Moderna is given out.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Got it as soon as I can get it. Got my first, second, and I can't get my third until March. But that's because I was a late bloomer. With that being said, but I've recently have had COVID. Well, now I have antibodies in my system again. So,
but let me ask you this, and this I do this for the sake of our listening audience, because I'm sure that we have some, we probably have some who are listening to us that have not gotten their vaccine or what have you, or
no judgment.
You know, about no stretch. But in your professional opinion, had you gotten the vaccine prior to getting COVID the first time, do you think that your symptoms would have been as bad as they were? Because I recall that they were pretty bad. I mean, you and I didn't talk for like a week.
Yeah, they were bad.
I mean, we were only talking through text, and you're like, I feel like shit.
Days went by of me like, oh shit, I was asleep. Oh fuck. Let me drink some water because I know that's good. And then when I finally started feeling halfway better, I had to go back to the hospital because I wasn't drinking. I thought I was drinking enough. I had let hours go by and I hadn't replenished. So I told the people, because with a whole bunch of people, I'm not getting it. Oh my God, you gave it to your kid. Oh my God. Now you got to take stuff to get out your system. I said, listen, I agree with you only because, all right, you feel that passionate about it. Anybody that feels passionate about it is fine. You are literally, I'm here as a standing, living a testament to what was happening, what had happened, and how I perceived my trajectory, where I believe my life is going to go, and how I choose what I'm choosing to do. My 17-year-old was adamant about getting the shot. He wanted it. And my 9-year-old wanted to follow suit like his brother. When he was able to, when they approved it for people, those younger than 16, those older than 5, my 9-year-old. So we're good. The whole house is fully vaccinated right now. With that being said, I feel confident and comfortable with the choice that I made. You don't have to do it. That's the choice you're making. Now, being in healthcare, am I seeing people succumb more rapidly or feel worse without getting it? Yes. Without having the shot? Yes. They're either dying or feeling extremely, very sick. Okay. Are they getting, we still don't even know, those that are vaccinated, we don't know the long-term effects of what we just put in our system. We don't. But right now we feel as though it's like herd immunity. If we're all vaccinated, at least we're relatively protected and we won't be able to spread it on to others. And they're like, well, it doesn't work because guess what? Yeah, well, this whole new variant that's around, those of us that are vaccinated are getting it. But those that are not are getting very, very sick and coming out with, like, once they get it, they kind of beat COVID in a sense, but then all of a sudden they go back in a week or two later and they have full-on pneumonia. And some are like creating pus bubbles in their lungs. Some are just a whole slew of problems. And those of us that we're not really getting any of that. So, and for the ignorant ones, and I'm going to say this because ignorance is a lack of knowledge. I'm not trying to assassinate your character. Sure. But if you're relying on the monoclonal to save you, you are literally taking a super dose of the vaccine. So you're not getting away from it. We've had this discussion before. I just felt like I had to reiterate it.
I do remember that.
Yeah, right. Now with that,
I do remember that.
Was there any lineup for today?
I think that was it, and that kind of really wraps us up because that perfect timing, because we need to call it a day this time around. So,
Hey.
Monet, I know you've probably said it many times already, but I like to yield to you for the final word. So hit us.
Sorry, love. Before we sign off,
Huh?
please say a prayer for Jared and his family. He really is out on leave from COVID. He's towards the end of his days as far as having the time off, and he wanted to do the recording today to see if he can handle the rigors of this constant talking, because not for anything, Jared knows why, and I'm not going to go because that's his medical history. We're just, I love my brother, I do, and I don't
Well,
want to.
I also want to make sure that I can, if I can, and before this, I'll throw this out there, and we can. I think we talked about mental health, mental illness. Sorry, and you combine those two, you get hellness. But we talked mental health a couple of weeks ago, or not too long ago. So I don't feel uncomfortable sharing this. But before this, I was in a therapy session for about an hour, and so between the two, now granted my voice is rather hoarse, I'm not as winded. I've barely coughed, so I think I can handle being in front of my classroom tomorrow. So yeah. Now, granted, I was positive last week. Went through some stuff ish. So, but despite the fatigue, a little bit tired, and minor things, I'm ultimately not symptomatic, and so I feel like I can return tomorrow. And that is per my district nurse supervisor, by the way. Just on that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
but thank you for that. I appreciate that, and yeah.
I pray for everybody. I do. I
Sure,
pray for the world.
sure.
And when I have and I have random people, because I got a lot of friends on Facebook, and I'm like, I'm thinking about this chick. That Tracy.
Yeah.
I love her. And I'll be thinking, Jamie, I'm thinking about you. And I just say little prayers. So with that being said, I'm praying for the world, for good health and longevity, for us to increase our knowledge and our acceptability of one another. And with that being said, I love you all. Goodbye.